All right, thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. We're here. It's our weekly segment, Sit Means Sit, and you have brought a guest with us today,
I did.
Jim. A couple of guests.
This is Bree, and this is Dr. Andrea Onken from Westvet.
And we are here today because it's getting cold outside. I've noticed it whenever I have to take my dog out for a walk. But dogs, you know, sometimes I don't think, should you get a coat for your dog? Would a dog even need a coat in this weather?
Well, and that's what the doc's going to talk about.
So, Doc, what is the answer? When do you, is it all just kind of a marketing gimmick, or should you get a coat for a dog?
It depends on the dog. I mean, some dogs have their own coat. In fact, a lab like this has a much thicker, heavier coat. They're made to be outdoor dogs. Whereas this dog, who's a pit bull, she has a real tiny little thin coat, and so she doesn't handle the temperatures very well. So today, pretty darn cold out there this morning. Definitely a kind of day where she would need a coat to be outside for very long.
So I can see like where you have certain breeds of dogs, like I know a husky isn't going to need one.
Right.
What do you do when you have like a mixed kind of dog? If you've gotten a shelter dog, or you've gotten, you know, a mutt, for lack of a better term,
Yep.
you know, how do you tell whether or not that dog would need one?
Well, you can watch them in the cold. I mean, you know, for instance, I take her out for very long, she starts shivering. She'll let you know she's cold pretty quickly. Or just pay attention to their coat. I mean, you can tell a thicker undercoat, you know, dog, they're just going to have that thicker fur. The pointers, the little, you know, the real short-haired animals, those are the dogs that are going to have a little more trouble in the cold. Sure.
One of the things that I know from a previous TV station I worked at, we used to get a lot of calls about was, when do you bring your dogs inside? And, you know, inside dogs versus outside dogs, and how to keep a dog warm outside. Do you have any tips for owners like that?
Yeah, well, you know, I think the cold, as cold as it gets here in the winter, I don't suggest leaving any dogs outside overnight when it's cold. Even a husky that you think is meant to be outside, probably not a great idea. And we certainly do see hypothermia and frostbite in dogs, not as often as you see it in humans, but we do see it, especially the older dogs and the very young dogs. And so if you have a dog that's getting up in age, or a puppy, absolutely don't leave them out when it's cold, you know, unattended at all. But even your warmer breed dogs, probably overnight in our winters, not a great idea.
What about things like the moon boots and the little booties and stuff like that? Does it matter for dogs?
Yeah, you know, they don't get frostbite on their feet the way that we do. Their feet are a little bit stronger. What they do get, they can get the snow, if they're out in the snow, caught in between their paws, and it'll cause cracks and injuries. And so, you know, it's not a bad idea if your dog will tolerate them. They're not cheap, and the dog often, my dog, the first time I got them, I spent $60, put their booties on, ran them out, and an hour later they came back with no booties and $60 down, you know, and they're buried in the snow. So they're not easy. You have to train your dog, but they're not a bad idea if your dog tends to ball up snow and you don't want to have to deal with feet injuries later.
As far as training goes, is there anything different that you do in the winter? Do you keep them on a shorter leash, so to speak?
I do, for a couple of reasons. I don't want my dog to be running, especially an older dog, and slip on some ice that I don't see. I've had some clients tell me that they've had older dogs slip on the ice and hurt themselves. I also worry about vehicles that can't stop in time. So I'm always, you know, and I have my dog on a leash unless I'm in a designated off-leash area up in the foothills. But I do keep them closer so we don't have an accident.
Even then, if it's a little muddy in the foothills, which it has a tendency to do around here, that's a whole other subject.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for coming in. We appreciate it. Remember, it's getting a little cold out there. Keep an extra eye on your dog, Bree. Rocco, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. You guys know he has the treats. I know.
Exactly.
All right, you guys will be back next week. Remember, if you've got any questions, you can always get a hold of us. Email us here at the station. We can get some answers for your dog coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Thanks again for stopping by. Stephanie, let's send it back over to you.